Good day, sir, and hello everyone. My name is Ming, matrix number 269572, and I'm from Group 2. So today I will explain on the effects of COVID-19 pandemic towards the small and medium enterprise, which is SME in Malaysia. As we all know that the COVID-19 is actually bring a lot of negative effects to the international economy, the business, the sector, and to the SME. Like other countries, the Malaysia respond to this pandemic by imposing the lockdown movement. But this lockdown will brings the negative effects on the performance for the SME. Because SME is playing an important role by increasing the employment rate, improving the nation's GDP, and last is providing the safety net to the particular who need it. So in this assignment, we need to find out the effects of the COVID-19 for the SME in each sector. Okay, so first, during the pandemic stage, the farmer is unable to sell the product because of the problem with the logistic and transportation. So the farmer need to dispose all the product as soon as possible. But they think a way which is turned to the online marketplace such as the Lazada platform, the Facebook, and others online marketplace. So during the marketplace, they can sell the product as soon as possible. Okay. Next, the government has restricting all the office, the business, the industry to remain closed. And a number of the SME industry have shown the dissatisfactions with the quality work from home connection because the employee will decrease the efficiency and the productivity during working. Last but not least, to prevent the spread of the virus, our government has implemented the standard operating procedure such as the social distance, need to wear the mask when you're going out and apply the hand sanitization. Okay, during the endemic stage, a national recovery plan 2.0 is developed. So the aim of this program is one to guarantee the SME to survive during this pandemic. Besides that, the easing of the manpower is one to reduce the unemployment rate, which is caused by the COVID-19. And last but not least, for the reopening international borders, it will bring the benefits to the SME company because the company can meet the business partner and investor physically, so they can talking about the funding or talking about the product and services provided to the citizen. This slide is talking about the influence sector of SME during this pandemic. So for this assignment, we have choose 9 sectors, which is the wholesale and retail, food and beverage, hotel, tourism, sport and entertainment, automotive, manufacturing, logistics and transportations, and others industry. So based on this pie chart, we can clearly know that the food and beverage has the largest impact because the supply chain is actually impacted by the changes of customer demand or the behavior during this pandemic. And there are 70% of the SME company has reported that there are 50% drop in the revenue. And a cost of tourism industry amount of 45 billion losses is in the first half of this year. Okay, so this is the effects of business operation during MCO. So for this part, we have split into 2 aspects, which is the financial aspect and operation aspect. So for the financial aspect, we have 5 status, which is the reduction in sales and profit, unstable market demand, customer interest change, low cash flow, and last is low turnover. So based on this bar chart, we can note that the higher percentage chosen by the SME is reduction in sales and profits. Even though the Malaysia GDP is keep growing, but it is make SME harder to raise the sales and profits because this pandemic actually damaged the income. So in 2020, the GDP of SME is dropping by 7.3%. So the second highest is unstable market demand. So the lockdown is actually make this issue happen because there are a shortage of the necessary product and services, and the low cash flow and low turnover become the effects for SME because the revenue is keep dropping, meanwhile the operational expenses is keep increasing. Last but not least, the customer interest change is just the minor effects that chosen by the SME. Meanwhile, for the operational aspect, we have 4 status, which is uncertain supply chain activity, shorten in operating hour, raw material supply, and last is the digital technology adoption. The highest percentage chosen by the SME is the shorten in operating hour. So during MCO 1.0, only the essential products and services such as the medical and the grocery are allowed to open. Meanwhile, during MCO 2.0, the mall and the most industry is permitted to open, and the operating hour is 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. only. The second highest percentage chosen by the SME is the uncertain supply chain activity. The SMEs actually rely or depends on the supply chain to function. So the SME is actually no wonder whether the collaboration partnership or the vendors still capable to working this throughout this pandemic, or the SME no clue about that the vendors still capable to produce the product with the quality in the agreed time frame. Okay, so actually during this lockdown, this will lockdown in the export country like China will bring a raw material supply becomes the effect in the operation aspect. So because of this, the SME is actually difficult to redesign the orientation in the short period of time. So last but not least, digital technology adoption also become one of the effects that chosen by the SME. Malaysian firms are lagging behind the worldwide standard in terms of the digitalization. Okay. In order to have a better understanding about the challenges that faced by the SME during this COVID-19, we have surveyed 50 SME in Malaysia. So the first challenges faced by them is business downturn. The majority of the SME has stated that they have no cash flow at least 3 months after the MCO due to the obligations like they need to pay the employee salary, they need to pay about the rental payment and other expenses. Besides that, they also pressure look for the new funding resources. The next challenges is sales volume keep dropping because the lockdown is actually damaged the income level for all citizens, and the low demand for goods will let the sales keep dropping, and this will bring a negative effects to the company. The third challenges is the innovation increase, but the SME just have a little resources and they unable to execute any creative idea. So the example of the resources such as the funding, the human resources, and the workplace. Besides that, the external environment also influence the development innovations. So the SME companies actually encouraged to engage with outside company in order to broaden their site, their skill and development. Last challenges is retain will of the shareholder or investor. So during this pandemic, the SME company not just facing the instability, and they also facing the late payment from others. So this will bring a risk, which is a liquidity risk to the SME company. When one comes to the workplace involvement, a tighter cash flow is actually limited to the SME. So for example, the company want to let all workers work in the office, they need to prepare the equipment such as the thermometer, enough masks, enough hand sanitizers, enough workplace and others. So actually all of this equipment is need to have immediately funds available for the SME to prepare it. So just now we have know about the challenges, so now it's about the strategy dealing with the COVID-19. The first strategy agreed by 48% of the SME is for the financial management. It is need to reduce the labor cost, expenses, and loan. The cash flow, liquidity, and the receivable delay is the example of the financial concern. So the SMEs actually need to seek for the extra loan to support the cash flow. In order to make sure the operation is going smooth, going well, the SME company decide to reduce the labor cost. The next strategy agreed by 44% of the SME company is reconfigure the distribution of supply chain structure. So to become more competitive during this pandemic, it is need to increase the combination of local firms into the global supply chain. So during this pandemic, all of us is more prefer the online shopping rather than go to physically buy the thing they want. So for example, when a citizen they want to buy a fresh food, the seller will send or deliver it to his house on the next day. The third strategy is agreed by 42% of the SME, which is a digital transformation. As we all know that the implementation of the digital transformation, it will increase the productivity of the SME company. So during this pandemic, all of us don't want to have a face-to-face with others and want to have a social distance and others. So we will more prefer the online shopping rather than others. And this is the most easy and a convenient way for all of us to purchase the thing we want. The fourth strategy agreed by 50% of the SME is the network relationship with the government. So during this pandemic, our Prime Minister will provide a live updates about the COVID-19 news to all of citizens. So this one to make sure that all of us know about the latest situations of COVID-19. Besides that, our government also has proposed apps, which is My Sejahtera apps. So SME company can know or can detect about whether who's well infected by the COVID-19. Last but not least, there are 40% of the SME company agree that about the protection of government policy. During this pandemic, our government has provided initiative with the amount of 50 billion to the SME industry, which is the industry have infected during this pandemic. Besides that, the employee also allowed to withdraw from the EPF account during this period. So based on the previous slide, we have known that different stage of the COVID-19 will brings different impact to the SME company. So this will actually affect the financial and operational aspect to the SME company, and they actually facing a lot of challenges. So they need to take action as soon as possible in order to survive in this pandemic. There are several recommendations for the SME. So first, the government should restart the policy of extending short-term financing of SME to a longer period. The inflation rate is actually keep increasing, which will lead to increase the raw material cost, the expenses cost, and others. So because of this, the SME will facing the debt repayment without a stable profit, as they need to have more cash flow to finance the operation. The next recommendation is the bank Negara ratio should maintain the overnight policy rate, as the overnight policy rate increase will let the interest rate also increasing, and this will lead the purchasing power while dropping. The low purchasing power will affect the revenue of the SME, which make them unable to cover the expenses. Thirdly, the government should create a campaign and promote about the financial support to the society, so the SME can know the informations and can gain the benefit from that. Besides that, the government also can make a teaching lesson for SME in order they know how to connect with the investor for raise the funding. Next, the government should provide affordable and high quality infrastructure for the SME. So it is important for the government to support digital transformation to the SME. The SME business can improve the security such as the data protection, cyber security, and others. Last but not least, it is most important because now is the era globalizations and the SME should access to the digital marketplace. So this is the way can let the SME operate the business during this pandemic, and they can operate and make the transaction with the customer without fear of infected COVID-19. Okay, so during this assignment, we want to explore the opinion and sentiment of the SME owners. So based on the previous slide, we can note that the most significant financial impact, which is decline in the sales and profit, which is chosen by 88% of the SME. Meanwhile, for the operational impact, they are 84% of SME chosen in reduction in operating hours. Okay, so for the SME, they want to remain competitive during this pandemic. They must adapt to the new environment as soon as possible and be dynamic in the management. So for example, as you know that this COVID-19 is a new virus, but the SME company should survive with them and adapt it as soon as possible. Besides that, as the entrepreneur, they need to have a wise decision, such as need to have predict the risk and uncertainty before the things occur. So for example, they have the well preparation, and this will minimize the severity occur. Last but not least, they must have a straightforward business strategy. So when an SME company apply this strategy, and because of the SME company is just small company and little resources, this will less utilize the resources by using them. That's here for me. Thank you.